welcome back to Darvanalee Designs Studio. For those that don't know, my name's Nicole Reed. So you might be wondering what today's video is about. Well, we are at block 5 in our 2019 Beginners Foundation Paper Piecing block of the month. It's called Starshine, and here you can see what it looks like. It is a gorgeous block. We are working with some angles again, and we just got quarters in this particular one, so we don't have to join any templates together except towards the end when we do the final assembly of the block. So let's get started. Alrighty, so we're up to block 5, and I know that you're really starting to get the hang of these paper piecing blocks. So today I thought I would do something with some slightly different angles on it and give us another take on a star block. This sort of looks a little bit like a Maltese cross, but not quite. Anyway, the block is called Starshine, and we're going to get started. So you're going to need your fabrics. You're going to need to hit that link underneath this video to head over to our blog to get your downloadable layout, your template pieces, and also your colouring in page. Okay, you don't need to download the colouring in page. It's just there if you want to muck around with some colours. You're going to need some paper scissors, a rotary cutter, a glue stick, a couple of quilting rulers, a piece of template plastic or thin cardboard. Of course, you're going to need some pins and some thread snips. Okay, so the first things that we need to do is cut out our templates. Just roughly, you don't need to cut it right on the 1/4 inch, just roughly will be fine. Alright, so we've cut out our template A, and as you can see, again, we've got the light grey, which is representing our red, and on the layout, and the dark grey is representing our black, and the white is representing the background. So basically what we're going to do is each template represents a 1/4 of this star. So you can see that we've got some really strange angles on that, and you can see that I've just basically grabbed stuff out of the leftovers or the scrap bucket that I've got. And I do advise that you just have a little scrap bucket there and just throw all your pieces in there, because you will be able to use different triangles and stuff like that. So I've just grabbed some very odd looking shapes, and then we'll be able to do this. So the first thing I want to know is where I'm going to place my first piece of fabric. That's on A1. Okay, so we're going to flip that over, and with your light box or just holding it up towards a window, you'll be able to see the lines on the background. So I'm just going to put a couple of dollops of glue just to hold, because it's quite a large piece, hold this into place. And then I'm going to grab my red fabric, and I'm going to place that on. Now, I'm not too sure if this red fabric's going to fit it or not, but it looks like it's going to. Just smooth that into place. And I can see that that is actually covering. I can actually probably move it a little bit this way. Alright, so I know that that is in place now. So I'm going to flip it over, and I can see that I've got to add number 2 down over here. So I'm going to grab my template plastic, and then I'm going to lay my template plastic directly on that dark line. And then I'm going to fold the paper out of the way, just like so. And then I'm going to grab my ruler, and I'm going to place that on the like the edge of the paper is on the 1/4 inch mark on my ruler, and I'll make sure that that's lining up all the way down. Then I'll just grab my rotary cutter, and then I'm just going to cut off that excess. And then while I'm here, I'm just going to flip it around, and I'm going to do the same where 1 goes to 3, because that'll be our next piece, and that'll just save us a little bit of time. Again, just grab my ruler and place that on the edge of the paper. Alright, so now I'm ready to add my black on. So I'm just going to flip that back over, and I'm going to add A2 on. So that's on this side here. I'm going to grab my black fabric, and I'm just going to align that up, making sure that I'm going to cover that outer seam allowance, and also make sure I'm covering that whole section of A2. I'm going to grab my pin, and in this case I'm going to need a couple, so I'll just put a couple of pins in. just like so, and then I'm going to flip it over and head to the sewing machine, and I'm going to sew this line here on the black solid line. I'm going to sew directly on top of that, and when I've got points, I like to just go one stitch into the seam allowance at either end, and that just gives me a nice crisp point. Okay, so I've sewn that, and now I can flip that back, and I'll just grab my little presser and give that a bit of a press, and then I'm going to flip it over. And so I can get rid of that excess fabric, I'm just going to actually place my template plastic on that line, move the paper out of the way, and then just cut that 1/4 inch ready for when I put A5 on there. And that'll just get rid of the excess fabric, and then I'll be able to use it. Okay. So now I'm going to turn it around, and you can see there that we've got that nice angle happening with our black fabric. Alright, so now what I need to do is sew the other side. So again, I'm just going to grab my black fabric. I'm going to align my raw edges because we already had cut our 1/4 inch, and we know that that's a 1/4 inch there. So grab my pins again. I'm just going to place that there and place another one down this end. Because you can see there, as soon as I moved that, it came away from the seam allowance. So pop that on. And now I can head to the sewing machine and now sew this line here. Okay, so we've sewn that. We'll remove our pins. And then again, we're just going to flip that over. And you can see there that we've got some beautiful angles, a beautiful crisp point down here in the center. And we just move that seam so it's laying nice and flat. Again, we're going to flip it over. We're going to grab our template plastic, lay that onto the black line there that's connecting A3 to A4. Grab our ruler, pop the 1/4 inch line on your ruler on the edge of the paper, and trim off that excess fabric. Now we're ready to add our white bits. So as you can see, I've got a very weird shape here, so that's going to be working really well for the triangles. So I'm just going to align that on, making sure that I'm doing the right one, which it is. It's A4, and I'm just going to align that there. Again, grab my pin and pop that in, and again, this is a larger piece, so I'm going to use 2 pins. And then I'm going to head over to the sewing machine, and again, starting in the seam allowance, going along that solid line and just finishing 1 stitch into the seam allowance. Because you're coming into points, I would recommend that you do a little back stitch at either end as well. Okay, so we've sewn that. We'll get rid of our pesky long threads, remove our pins, flip our fabric over. So you can see there, by doing the reverse, it's not going to come away. So you're going to keep those nice crisp points. Alright, so we can flip that over, and now we can just get rid of that excess fabric. So I'm just going to trim around the paper. And then I'm going to turn it around, and I'm going to do the other side. Exactly what we just did then. We'll flip it over, and you can see there that we've got all this excess fabric, so we need to clean that up a bit. So just grabbing your ruler, putting your 1/4 inch mark on your ruler onto that dark line, and you just do that all the way around. Okay, so grab your layout sheet. So you can see here we've got our layout sheet, and then you're just going to place your blocks side by side to create the pattern that you've got here. So you can see there that I've got mine and they're all ready to go. So what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to move these 2 out of the way, and then I'm going to take these 2 and join them together. Now we're just joining the quarters, but you do still want to be mindful of these 2 where the white triangles meet up. This is the point I'm going to focus on. So this is where I will pin first. So I'm just going to fold that over. So you can see here my 2 triangles. I'm going to line the 2 points up of the triangles. And then what I'm going to do, instead of going in this way with my pin, I'm going to go along the seam, and then I'm going to open it up to see if it is actually lining up, because yes, it's looking like it is, but we just want to be sure, because that will really stand out if we don't sew that properly. So you can see there, I've just placed a pin on the seam, and then I'm just going to quickly open that up, and we can see that when we open that up, that is beautifully lining up. Okay, it's a little bit rough and ready because it's only pinned in, but once it's sewn, you can see there that we've got a really nice point. Alright, so I'm pretty happy with how that is. So at this point, I'm actually going to take a pin and pin that in there, and then grab another one and pin that about 1/2 inch away from it. And I know that that's going to hold it in place, and now I can remove this pin. And then I can align everything else up. Okay, so we can see here that that's going to be fine. And I also want to check that this is going to line up too, because I want to make sure that when I go to sew the whole block together, that it's all going to meet up. Alright, so I'm happy with that. I'm going to head over and I'm going to sew along that line, making sure I reverse at the beginning and at the end. So we've sewn that down, so you can see that I've sewn on the line. We open it up and you can see that that is just sitting absolutely beautiful. So I'm really happy with that. So I'm going to go and do the other two, and then we'll join all the blocks together. Okay, so now we've got our two pieces sewn together, and you can see that our two white pieces are lining up really well, which means that these ones should align up really well as well. So we're just going to place this right sides together, and then we'll find our center seams and align our triangles up just here, and actually pin the heck out of it to make sure it doesn't move. And again, I'm just going to do exactly what I did when I was sewing the quarters together, and that way I know that they're going to line up. Okay, and I'll quickly open that up to see, yes, they are going to line up, and now I can place my pins in there. And the next one I want to check is my center one, and I can see that that is nesting absolutely beautifully, and I'll just pop a pin in there, and then I'm going to head over to the sewing machine and I'm going to stitch on that dark line, and then our block is done. Okay, so there we are, our block is finished, and you can see it's just gone together really nicely. I'm really happy with how it's turned out, and I hope that you like your block too. Okay, so thank you very much for joining me today. I really do hope that you enjoyed making the Starshine block. It's a beautiful block that goes together quite easy, and you could just imagine a whole quilt made with this block, and it would look absolutely stunning. So if you like this video today, give us a thumbs up down below, and if you're new here, hit that subscribe button and ring the little bell icon beside it, and that way you won't miss out on any future posts. And for those that don't know, my name's Nicole Reid for Darvanalee Designs Studio, and I'll see you all again next time. Bye for now.